Hey, Jimmy here, and this is called New Olympus City. And it's one of those games that uses the gods of Olympus as the characters. And, I understand why they do that. Those are public domain folkloric characters. And so the reason I wanted to highlight this one, though, is the art style. I play a lot of anime games, and I like that art style. But this one's cool because it just reminds me of a more Western comics art style. And that's, to be honest, not something you see all the time. So I'm just backgrounding this on some gameplay here, resource dungeons and things. Here's a campaign. So selecting some characters there, you can sort of see what I'm talking about with the art style. These character models in the combat here, I think it's interesting. They're not chibi exactly, but they're not fully proportioned. It gives an interesting effect that I kind of like. We've got waves of enemies coming. I've got the gameplay on auto. Nothing too innovative here necessarily. But, the setting is interesting. You can see that kanji in the background. It's sort of a cyberpunk kind of setting. These enemies here, you saw the energy shields. And you've got my, Minotaur character here. Little star is going to spiral off there. When I hit the button. There we go. Little nice animation there. The characters are really attractive, pretty creative. So let's look a little bit more. Okay, that green dot, that was a resource. So I'm gonna have to go back and collect that resource later. The flashing sort of blue-white dot is the current stage. There's a lot of characters join the campaign sort of stuff in here. And also just the regular gacha. Okay, so here's another combat. Minotaur guy using his head some. The fonts here, the typography reminds me of Western comics. But the setting, reminds me of that cyberpunk setting, the Shadowrun kind of thing. That's actually what it reminds me of, somewhat. I'm old enough to have remembered the tabletop Shadowrun game, if anybody else does. But,
Time to put my head to work.
But yeah, there's some creative stuff here, all the sort of robot enemies that we have. The mix of Chinese and English. The fact that you've got a missing Wi-Fi symbol up there when an enemy is defeated, I think is a very cute idea. They've clearly put a lot of effort into the design here. Just the overall thinking. What this reminds me of a little bit is one I used to play. It's still on the App Store, actually, Battle Knight. This reminds me of Battle Knight a good deal. I played Battle Knight for a long time. That one had fantastic character design. Here I am collecting some resources from completed quests here, a little box. So, nothing here that's super out of the ordinary in terms of a character collector. One gripe I have is that the text, look at this text, kind of hard to read. It's all like that, even the sort of campaign text. But look at the characters, so cool. Sort of, pulpy. It's like a real pulpy kind of, oh goodness, what was, I guess in the 90s when comics had the darker and edgier phase, this is definitely what that reminds me of. Here I am messing with the menus. There we go, collect my resource there. This city, like all these games, things open up as you progress. Look at this guy, what a king. What a queen. The characters are great. I love the, you know, really attractive male and female characters and non-humans that are also, I guess, male and female for the most part. What else do we have? Some more resource gathering. All these games are going to have a ton of resource gathering. That's just how it works. For me, that's part of the fun. I've talked on that upgrade simulators video that I posted a while back. That, you know, for me, part of the interest of games like this is sort of navigating the UI, going around, oh, I gotta collect this, I gotta collect that. Now I've got more resources. Now I can, you know, equip a character or whatever. And upgrade my Minotaur here. Okay, so there we are upgrading our stats. Let me see, this guy, love the mohawk. There's one of these things that I like where you have the crafting system for the gear you need inside the upgrade interface. I think that's real good quality of life. There are lots of games that are doing that. Really, on games like this, QOL is everything. Like that and the aesthetic experience, but I've talked about the aesthetic experience. But, you know, QOL matters so much. That's one thing that, you know, Vanilla Saga, probably my favorite character collector right now, just absolutely flawless. Great game. But it's good at QOL, you know, skipping levels that you're too powerful for, things like that. And this, you know, has the in-game crafting, you know, in the situation. Looks like I just leveled up my account. So again, more stats. So yeah, I like the weird and quirky games. This one's definitely weird and quirky. It's not perfect by any means. That makes it very charming. I'm enjoying this one a lot so far. You know, one of the issues is, as I mentioned before, this text. The UI is kind of slow sometimes. I like this creature, this like frog monster. You know, this person, generic robot guy, whatever. Slightly more interesting robot guy. This fellow, another robot guy. Always interesting. The faceless mook thing. That's a split you see, right? You see some games like this one and Nikke Goddess of Victory where the low-level characters are just faceless. Though, of course, in Nikke, that recent event, you know, we had a named manufactured Nikke who was, you know, given a backstory, and again, that's the really, you know, the really good storytelling that you find there. The story mode here is good so far. I'm not going to show it in the video at all, but it seems solid. It's, because of the text, hard to read, but again, no, this is a game that I think is well worth playing.